We need to quickly go back to Parliament. Haruna Idrisu, the minority leader, is addressing Parliament on this issue. Listen.
Corruption is still in Ghana. There's still graft. We saw the blacklisting of our country by the European Union. We have not done enough to punish corruption and to punish public officials capable of it. Yet we passed the Special Prosecutor Act. Mr. Speaker, I should also thank the first and second deputy speakers for their continuous support to you in your office as Speaker of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I cannot, and I'm sure when it gets to you closing, as we will observe a minute silence in memory of one of the greatest of our country's president and leaders, President Jerry John Rawlings, who passed on in November. And having served this republic, he navigated the difficult waters of a transition from military rule to constitutional democratic practice and ushered in the Fourth Republic, which has become our most successive republic as a country, and we are now working hard together to build viable and productive institutions. I think that may his soul rest in perfect peace. His contribution to the transformation of our country, social, economic, and political, will leave it for historians to write. He's made a remarkable contribution to the state of Ghana, securing us not just the democracy, but the stability and unity of our country. There were many who didn't appreciate him, who now appreciate him in depth. Lessons to learn going forward. Mr. Speaker, we also witnessed what happened with the Nana Dankwa government again, the largest ever size of government, and I look forward to he downsizing government. My own view is that that elephant size of government, over 125 ministers, should be a thing of the past. That has some implications financially on the public purse, and we must endeavor to reduce the size of government, the size of ministers. This parliament has an opportunity to do that. Mr. Speaker, as I said, beyond the Ayawaso West Wagon by-election, we saw the president appoint the Emil Short Commission inquiry to look into the matter. We are still in the shadows as to what happened to the Emil Short Committee's report and its recommendations. No wonder the European Union has observed in the just ended 2020 election that coalition of results was not transparent, and in many instances it resulted in loss of life. Coalition of results should not lead to the loss of lives. In many instances, at least 8 lives so far have been lost, and we call for an investigation into all those election-related deaths and killings. Mr. Speaker, as I indicated, the President assumed office in 2017. We still have those unresolved issues at Boston. They tried to claim credit that they had ended Doomsaw. But Mr. Speaker, this parliament is noted, at least for supporting you and supporting itself, to pass the first ever private members bill, which is historic, no doubt about it. There are still infractions to media freedom in Ghana, including the unexplained death and unpunished death of Ahmed Swaleh following threats that were issued in his life. It will remain a black spot in our democratic conscience. Yet, we want to enhance the frontiers of media freedoms in our country. Mr. Speaker, so I should thank the clerk and members of the parliamentary service for dedicated service to you, to members of parliament, and to all of us. We saw you supported by the president to inaugurate the new parliamentary enhanced office accommodation, which should improve access to offices by members of parliament. Notably, we passed the Right to Information Bill, the Companies Bill. We trust that those must improve the ease of doing business in Ghana. But Mr. Speaker, let me conclude once again to say that the people of Ghana in the 2020 election voted to give indication that they are dissatisfied with the polarization of our country, the excessive partisanship in our country, the divisiveness in our country. They want to see a country which shares its benefits and opportunities to all, regardless of our political belief and faith. The combined effect of Article 1101 and Article 11, we still commit that Parliament needs a new standing orders and a revised standing orders. My colleague and I disagree with the process of adopting it after extensive work by all of us to have new standing orders, because Article 11.7 requires the mandatory 21 days to get it into law. His was to think that we could adopt it by a resolution. This is not an amendment, it's a comprehensive revision of our standing orders. So, Mr. Speaker, I should thank you once again and wish you well. I thank the deputy speakers and my colleagues in leadership. It was difficult. What I'm happy about is that my colleague, the majority leader, cannot bully me again saying that I'm comfortable with numbers. 137, 137. Equality. Ghanaians voted for 137, 137. Mr. Speaker, I pray and I look forward to a Ghana which does not have different set of laws and rules for NDC and PP, but the rule of law in all its facets, including equality of law, is upheld and respected at all times. Different ruling in Techima to have representation, different ruling in Asi North not to have representation, that can only be a manifestation of some legal illiteracy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank our colleagues in leadership and members of Parliament. To our colleagues who are not able to make it, Mr. Speaker, how sad that the Honorable Yilechira is my quiet legal and procedure advisor, the Honorable Inus Afusene, Chairman Banda of the Constitutional Legal Affairs, and Chairman Asibe of the Finance Committee. It must wake our political parties up to preserve and protect good working members of Parliament. We have to undertake the necessary reforms. And the voluntarily retired, my former teacher of economics and Minister for Monetary and Evaluation, and to our colleagues who are not able to make it, better luck next time. Our democracy must grow. But again, the gravest threat to our democracy is the institutionalization of violence and the inability of the state security agencies to demonstrate neutrality and impartiality, and the heavy dosage of use of money to survive competitive political elections. Mr. Speaker, happy prosperous new year to you and your family, to the clerk and his men, to Deputy Speaker, hard-working Oseichi Mensah-Bonsu. I was thinking you were going to have some new life somewhere, but here he comes. Welcome to the Parliament where we are 137, 137. I thank you. That was a wish of the Ghanaian people, not a court. Courts don't determine representation. I thank you.
The Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu there, Joseph, you heard what he said. He's listed a whole lot of things and the things that have been done in Parliament, in the 7th Parliament over the period, but he refers to what has just happened quite subtly. He says we need to uphold the rule of law. There are different rulings here, different rulings there. In Asin North, yes, and then Techiman South.
In Techiman South, different ruling in Asin North.
Address. Honorable Majority Leader, please.
The Speaker, colleagues, today marks the end of the sittings, meetings, and sessions of the 7th Parliament of the 4th Republic, which stands dissolved midnight, this day, the 6th of January 2020, after running its full four-year term. It has been 4 years of hard work geared towards rebuilding and revitalizing the impoverished economy that we inherited. Mr. Speaker, the last year of the 4-year term of the 7th Parliament was indeed a stressful one. The novel coronavirus pandemic, which put countries all over the world in a distressing situation, surfaced in Ghana in March 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic, no doubt, impacted negatively on the discharge of the constitutional mandate of Parliament. Meetings of the House had to be suspended on 3 occasions, a situation which is unprecedented in the life of the 4th Republican Parliament. The House, at the point, had to conduct its sittings with only essential staff. As members of Parliament, the discharge of our constitutional mandate require that we interact physically as a collective body to transact businesses of the House. We engage with the citizenry in order to get acquainted, comprehend, and represent their interests and indeed needs with stakeholders on matters of national importance, among others. In all these, contracting the COVID-19 disease was high, rather disturbingly. Notwithstanding, each of us had to brave through the storm to discharge the mandate of the parliamentarian. The Speaker, as we may recall, prior to the 2020 elections, the Electoral Commission embarked on a mass voter registration exercise on the 30th of June 2020, which lasted 36 days with additional 2 days for mop-up. This was upon the determination by the Electoral Commission that the previous voters' register was not suitable for use as an electoral register in 2020 presidential and general elections. And also after the Supreme Court overruled petitions presented by some groups. The appropriateness of that act was the demonstrable resilience of the new data center, the functionality of a new data recovery center, and the value for money and huge cost savings that the country made in the procurement of the more robust, more efficient, and effective biometric registration devices, as well as the biometric verification equipment. The Speaker, of particular mention, the 3rd meeting of the 4th session of Parliament, which turned out to be extremely stressful. The meeting was characterized by intermittent suspensions and adjournments occasioned by the 2020 presidential and general elections. During the period, honorable members had to combine parliamentary works with campaigning in our constituencies, in our case, to ensure re-election. Honorable members made diligent efforts to ensure the effective execution of parliamentary business amidst the electionary campaigns. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, the difficulties imposed in balancing the business of the chamber and the purely partisan constituency activities exacted undeserved tolls on some honorable members. That was tragic, to say the least. The House shall have to come together on this to save in particular the brilliant and experienced members from such happenings in future. The Speaker, the House was recalled from the break after a peaceful election that saw His Excellency the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, emerge victorious. Generally, the 2020 election exercise was a success, perhaps much more successful than had been anticipated. The elections did not witness the number of hitches which hitherto had characterized elections in Ghana. Permit me, Mr. Speaker, to take this opportunity to commend the Electoral Commission, political parties, civil society groups, security services, the media, all stakeholders and the people of Ghana for their efforts. I congratulate the citizenry for a generally peaceful and successful elections. Indeed, it is victory for Ghana. Speaker, I'm not oblivious of the cases that have been filed at the courts. It is certainly better to allow due process to determine what the truth is rather than resorting to populism to demand justice from the streets. Mr. Speaker, 5th January 2021, That was yesterday. His Excellency, the President of the Republic, per Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution, came to discharge his constitutional obligation by delivering to Parliament a message on the state of the nation prior to the dissolution of the 7th Parliament. The Speaker, at the very onset of the message, he invited the nation to rise in unison in remembrance of the first President of the 4th Republic, His Excellency, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings. That was very statesmanlike. Thereafter, he related to the real state of the nation as he met it and as he, inheriting himself, is leaving. Unfortunately, because of the very limited space attributable to the date of delivery of such messages, the House is unable to debate the final messages of presidents. Going forward, Mr. Speaker, we shall have to come to some determination on appropriate dates for presentations of such messages in order that the House, as a House, we could create space to comment on such messages. Mr. Speaker, permit me at this point to highlight key businesses discharged by the House. The 7th Parliament saw the passage of an unprecedented number of bills in our 4th Republican Parliament. Out of the 135 bills presented to the House, 125 came to be passed into law. For year 2020 alone, the House passed 49 bills, including the Land Bill, Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, Education Regulatory Bodies, Chartered Institute of Marketing, Ghana Communication Technology University Bill, Revenue Administration, Minerals Income Investment Fund Amendment, Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau Bill, Registration of Births and Deaths, University of Skills Training and Entrepreneurial Development Bill 2020, which the House amended to read Akenten Apiaminka University of Skills Training and Entrepreneurial Development Bill 2020, Development Finance Institutions Bill, Security and Intelligence Agencies Bill, Communication Service Tax, Ghana Cocoa Boards Amendment Bill, Industrial Designs Bill, Corporate Insolvency and Restructuring Amendment Bill, Complementary Education Agency, Real Estate Agency, Institute of Chartered Accountants, Criminal Offences Amendment, Petroleum Hub Development Corporation Bill, Council of State Bill, Ghana Enterprises Agency, Judicial Service Bill, Air Navigation Service Agency Bill, Plant Variety Protection Bill, Cyber Security Bill, Renewable Energy Amendment Bill, Buoy Power Authority Amendment Bill, Borrowers and Lenders Bill, Public Private Partnership Bill, Insurance Bill, among the many, many others. The Speaker, indeed, I have not witnessed the Parliament work as seriously as this 7th Parliament has done to pass as many significant laws since my entry in Parliament on January 7th, 1997. It is my fervent hope that the passage of these bills, many of them watershed and landmark legislations, will further deepen our governance systems. Speaker, I'm grateful to members of the Winnowing Committee. And let me state this for the umpteenth time. The Honorable Ben Abdullah Banda, the Honorable Inusa Fuseini, the Honorable Bernard Ahiafo, Honorable Joseph E. Lechire, Honorable Ayime Duentri, Honorable Shaibu Muhammad, for their invaluable contributions to the speedy and smooth passage of bills during the 7th Parliament. The Speaker, it is most unfortunate that the next Parliament would no longer be populated by Honorable Ben Abdullah, Honorable Hussein Inusa, Honorable Joseph Ilechire, and Honorable Shaibu Muhammad. It is going to be extremely difficult to immediately find replacements for such persons of monumental industry, dexterity, and demonstrable competence and efficiency, in particular in the field of legislation. The Speaker, Mention must also be made of the 199 instruments, rules, and regulations which were introduced in the House and entered into force during the tenure of this 7th Parliament. Speaker, I intend to have a summary of businesses transacted by this Parliament attached to this presentation as an annexure. Speaker, as we may recall, on 31st May 2017, the minority leader moved a half-hour motion to prevail on the Minister for Finance to provide detailed information on the $2.25 billion United States bonds issued by government, including the full complement of documentation related to the issuance, the participants, the utilization of the proceeds, and the currency in which the bonds were settled. In response, the Minister for Finance made a statement on the floor of the House on the 7th of June 2017, in which he provided detailed information on the issuance of the bond. I must acknowledge, Mr. Speaker, that the contributions to the statement by members is a clear indication that our democracy is indeed evolving. His Excellency the President in September 2018 declared and formally launched the Year of Return Ghana 2019 in Washington, D.C., United States of America, at a program organized to commemorate 400 years of the arrival of the first enslaved Africans in Jamestown, Virginia, in the United States of America. The Year of Return, Ghana 2019, sought to unite Africans in the diaspora with their African brothers and sisters on the continent. Subsequently, the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture organized a number of programs and activities which attracted dignitaries from across the world to Ghana. Worthy of mention is the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, members of the United States Congressional Black Caucus, the Prime Minister of Barbados, Right Honorable Mayor Amo Motley, and American comedian and actor Steve Harvey, Danny Glover, and also another American actor. The Speaker, as most of us are aware, Ghana has had a very checkered history of parliamentary democracy. Parliamentary democracy was interrupted with the overthrow of the first Republican government in a coup d'etat on the 24th of February 1966. Parliamentary democracy was restored in 1969 under the 1969 Constitution of the Second Republic. The Second Republican government was also overthrown on 13 January in 1972 through another coup d'etat. Thereafter, Parliament was left in abeyance until 1979, when the parliamentary democracy was again restored under the Third Republic. On 31st December 1981, the Third Republican Parliament was truncated by yet another coup d'etat. Ghana retraced its steps back to constitutional rule on 7th January 1993 at the instance of multiple factors, external and internal, and after the approval in a referendum of the 1992 Constitution. Since the restoration of parliamentary democracy in the Fourth Republic, Ghana has made remarkable strides in entrenching democratic governance. The country has gone through 8 democratic elections in the years 1992, 1996, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, and most recently in 2020. 3 of these elections, in particular the 2000, 2008, and 2016, witnessed a peaceful transition of power from one political party to the other. In any democracy, there are bound to be disagreements. However, Mr. Speaker, in agreeing to disagree, the players must be guided by the fundamental consideration of the security and stability of this country. Mr. Speaker, in March 2018, Parliament celebrated 25 years of parliamentary democracy in Ghana. To commemorate the milestone, a number of activities were organized by this House. Notable amongst them were: 1, a symposium on the theme 25 years of parliamentary democracy in Ghana, Challenges and Prospects, which was graced by His Excellency the President of the Republic and President of the Senate, of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Dr. Abubakar Bukola Saraki. Second, a symposium on the topic Enhancing Women Political Representation and Participation in Search of Good Governance and Development in Africa, Affirmative Action and Beyond, was delivered by a member of the East African Legislative Assembly, Honorable Oda Gasing Zigwa. The symposium was graced by the Speaker of the Ugandan Parliament, Right Honorable Dr. Rebecca Kadaga. These symposia and other activities organized by the Parliament of Ghana presented us the opportunity to reflect on our achievements as well as challenges confronting us as a country in our pursuit to deepen our own democratic governance. The Speaker, I draw attention to one of the challenges confronting Ghana's parliamentary democracy. Article 78(1) of the Constitution of 1992 Constitution provides that the majority of ministers of state appointed by the President shall have to be from among members of Parliament. There were genuine fears for this constitutional arrangement at the inception of the Fourth Republic. That arrangement was supposed to stabilize the system, considering the fact that the overthrow of the Third Republic was driven by disagreements between the members of Parliament, then the ruling party, and the executive and the legislature of same party. There's no doubt that the constitutional arrangement has served a useful purpose. However, it is becoming evident that the situation is tending to undermine Parliament's effort at effectively holding the executive accountable. Mr. Speaker, although the 1982 Constitution vests legislative power in Parliament, over the years, members of Parliament have not been able to either introduce or pass any private member's bill because of the supposed limitation of Article 108 of the Constitution. Article 108 makes some provisions. Mr. Speaker, I don't intend to go into it, and I would expect the Hansa Department to capture what the provision really is. The provision has been upheld by various speakers as a limitation on the exercise of the legislative power of Parliament. Parliament's inability to introduce a private member's bill, as envisaged under Article 108 of the Constitution, has been persistent. The situation had plagued all the parliaments since the inception of the Fourth Republic, with the exception of the 7th Parliament. For the first time in the annals of our history, the 7th Parliament of the Fourth Republic Parliament passed through private members' bill. They are, one, the Public Health Amendment Bill 2020 and the Road Traffic Amendment Bill 2020. The Public Health Amendment Bill 2020 was jointly sponsored by my humble self, the Minority Leader, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, Honorable Ilechere, and Honorable Alexander Kwamina Afenyo-Maki. The Road Traffic Amendment Bill was also presented by myself, the Minority Leader, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, the Honorable Ras Mubarak, who was very persistent on this, and the Honorable Ben Abdallah Banda. Mr. Speaker, I must congratulate the 7th Parliament for these watershed legislations. I must express profound gratitude to the Right Honorable Speaker, Professor Michael Iroquois, for his courage and appreciation of the law which culminated in these landmark legislations. The Speaker, the demand for better governance and greater accountability has increased significantly in recent times. Public perception about Parliament and parliamentarians towards its work has not been encouraging. The situation requires introspection into the way Parliament works to determine areas that can be improved to ensure that Parliament is more effective and responsive to the needs and aspirations of the citizenry. The Speaker, undoubtedly, a reform that could restore public confidence and promote the image of dignity of our Parliament is the review of our standing orders. The process to review the standing orders started in the 3rd Parliament. The 4th, 5th, 6th Parliaments also made attempts to review the standing orders. Unfortunately, these parliaments were not able to complete the review process. Following the inauguration of the 7th Parliament, a 13-member technical... I've mentioned it. I've mentioned those words. Following the inauguration of the 7th Parliament, a 13-member technical committee chaired by the Honorable First Deputy Speaker, Mr. Joseph Osei-Wusu, was constituted to undertake the review of the standing orders. Regrettably, this Parliament could also not bring to a closure the review of the standing orders at this last hour. Some matters which some of us thought had long been buried, that is, in respect of whether or not Article 11.7 should be the vehicle of presentation of the order to the House, has come to be raised. I cannot understand the motive underpinning this. However, the Speaker, we must live with this. It is my hope that the review of our standing orders will be pursued in the 8th Parliament to enhance the effectiveness of our parliamentary oversight roles, among others. The Speaker, it is sad to note that during the period, the House woke up on Wednesday, the 21st of November 2018, to the shocking news of the transition of the then Member of Parliament for Ayawaso West Wogon and Chairman of the Committee on Environment, Science and Technology, Honorable Emmanuel Chematin Ejaku. The House again on Friday, the 8th of October 2020, woke up to the gruesome murder of the then Member of Parliament for the Mfantsiman constituency, Honorable Eko Kwanzaa Hayford. Once again, we extend our condolences to the bereaved families. The death of Eko Kwanzaa Hayford underscored the need for members of Parliament to be provided with adequate security. I will therefore urge leadership of the 8th Parliament to take up the issue of security and particularly the protection of members of Parliament with the executive arm of government. Already there's been some commitments from the Minister of Interior, but we are yet to see to the full implementation of the promise. The Speaker, the country also lost some statesmen during the period. Notable among them are, one, the former Majority Leader and Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, the Honorable J.H. Usho Champong, which sad event occurred on the 13th of June 2017. Former Vice President of the Republic, His Excellency Pakwesi Bekoya Misata, on 29th of June 2018. Former Senior Minister and Majority Leader, Honorable J.H. Mensah, on 12 July 2018. Former Secretary General of the United Nations and Nobel Peace Laureate, Bushumuru Kofi Annan, on the 8th of August 2018. Former People's Poet, Secretary General of the Pan-African Writers Association of Ghana, and President of Ghana Association of Writers, Professor John Atukwe Okai, on 13 July 2018. Former Majority Leader and Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Dr. Kobneji, on the 12th of March 2019. On each of these occasions, the House paid glowing tributes in honor of the departed statesmen. May God Almighty continue to console and protect the bereaved families. The Speaker, Thursday, 12 November 2020, this country again woke up to the sad and shocking transition of the former President of the Republic, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings. May I, on behalf of the House, once again express our deepest condolences to the wife, children, the family, and indeed the entire country. I'm certain that at the appropriate time, the 8th Parliament will pay a befitting tribute in its honor. The Speaker, a good mind, they say, lives in a healthy body. It is therefore important that members of Parliament stay fit and healthy to be able to discharge their mandate effectively. For this reason, a gymnasium with state-of-the-art equipment was commissioned on Thursday, 20th December 2018 to promote good health among members and staff of the parliamentary service. Unfortunately, not too many of us access the facilities in the gymnasium, and I want to plead that we submit ourselves. After all, we need to be healthy to be able to perform our responsibilities. The Speaker, office facilities under the Fiscal Infrastructure Enhancement Project of Parliament was commissioned by His Excellency the President of the Republic Tuesday, 4th November 2020. The project comprises the construction of Job 600 Annex, Chamber Support Services Block, Drivers Waiting Center, Visitors Waiting Center. Once again, government, your good self, Mr. Speaker, and colleague members of the leadership of the House deserve commendation for conceptualizing and executing the project towards addressing the office infrastructure needs of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, as part of the effort geared towards taking Parliament closer to the people, the 7th Parliament, through the Public Affairs Department and in collaboration with GTV Govern, commenced a series of TV series dubbed Parliament in his own words and the Speaker in his own words. It is also worthy of mention that the 7th Parliament introduced a simultaneous sign language interpretation in the chamber and an effort at bringing Parliament closer to the people. Mr. Speaker, the high attrition that the 4th Republican Parliament is suffering is tragic and a matter that should be of great concern to all political parties. The attrition rate is proving to be detrimental to the work of the House. Permit me to reiterate that there's nowhere in the world, in entrenched democracies, where at the end of the life of Parliament, the sluice gates are open for all and sundry. It does not exist anywhere in the world. Democracy everywhere is guided and guarded. The Speaker, if this phenomenon is not dealt with, it may undermine political continuity, the achievement of long-term political goals, and the robustness of public policies and programs. It may also lead to erratic lawmaking as Parliament is deprived of the accumulation of legislative skills and experience. Every 4 years, we witness the rather unfortunate exit of experienced members of the House. As I have indicated on some platforms, practice, they say, makes perfect, and repetition is a matter of all learning. The Speaker, for the next Parliament, this House will have as many as 123 new members. Of the 275 MPs today, more than one half already are fresh members. The MPP, the majority group in the 7th Parliament, 169 members, had 89 new entrants. For the 137 that will be entering the 8th Parliament on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party, 79 are continuing members and 58 are new members. Equally, for the 137 that will be part of the next Parliament on the ticket of the New Democratic Congress, Mr. Speaker, I hear the number has dwindled to 136 as of today. The National Democratic Congress, I must correct it, 65 of them are new members of Parliament. This definitely does not augur well for the growth of Parliament. Building the capacity of members of Parliament takes considerable time, as competence usually comes with practice and experience. It is for this reason that I reiterate for the umpteenth time that the very high attrition rate of members of Parliament is not helping to build a strong legislature. Political parties, especially the MPP and the NDC, need to do serious introspection in the selection process. Let those who have ears listen. The Speaker, given how far we have come and the significant strides we have made as Parliament, the future definitely holds great prospects for us as we put the necessary systems in place to sustain our parliamentary democracy. In this regard, there is a need to pay critical attention to the following: strengthening governance, bipartisan approach in the consideration of issues brought before the House is important requirement for promoting inclusiveness, accountability, and good governance. Economic growth. There is a need for government to pursue sound and healthy economic policies that would attract and promote investments and create jobs for the mass of the population, particularly the youth. Mr. Speaker, absenteeism and lateness to the chamber, as some members, was a great challenge to the House during the period. Consequently, forming a quorum to enable the House to transact business most often than not became a challenge. It is my hope that the leadership of the 8th Parliament would institute pragmatic measures to ensure that members live up to their responsibility entrusted to them by the citizenry. The Speaker, as you may recall, during the tenure of this Parliament, we witnessed some events which tended to create some controversies and confusion in the House. They relate to the observance of the rules of the House for which positions were taken. In some instances, tempers went up, with the minority often insisting on the right to have their say, even if the majority will have their way. It was also the view of the majority that the minority's right to have their say must be situated within the confines of the standing orders of the House and indeed of the 1992 Constitution. Although some of these contentions were unfortunate, the fact that members had the opportunity to vent their grievance and the fact that attempts were made to correct erroneous impressions is an ample demonstration of the fact that Ghana indeed is deepening freedom of expression and expanding the frontiers of its democratic governance. The Speaker, in all circumstances, you ensured order and decorum in the House by striving to accommodate and tolerate members whilst reminding members that rights are never absolute and unfettered. On the whole, I must acknowledge that the 7th Parliament has been a very productive one. The Speakership steered the proceedings and business in the House in a very able manner. There were times, as I said, that tempers flared, but agreeably, it is impossible to satisfy all of us every time. Graciously, Mr. Speaker, in this House, bones were not broken and chairs were not thrown at one another, as happens in some jurisdictions. Permit me, therefore, to applaud and commend you, Mr. Speaker, and your deputies for a good work done. Mr. Speaker, permit me also to recognize the role played by the leadership of the majority, the Honorable Sarah Adjosafo, Deputy Majority Leader, Honorable Kwesi Ameyauchireme, Majority Chief Whip, Honorable Matthew Nyindam, the First Deputy Whip, and Honorable Moses Enim, the Second Deputy Whip, for working as a team to steer the affairs of the Majority Caucus towards successful conduct of the business of the House. To my colleagues in the leadership of the minority, especially the Honorable Minority Leader, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, I express my profound gratitude for your cooperation. Mr. Speaker, the other members in the leadership, the once vociferous James Aveji, who became a bit tame in his capacity as a deputy minority leader, may I express my gratitude to you, Mr. Speaker, for the tameness that you imposed on yourself to ensure that we had the business of this House conducted in a very successful manner. Mr. Speaker, the entire membership of the House deserves commendation for committing themselves to the business of the House to ensure that we discharge our constitutional mandate effectively. To the clerk and his staff, I say a big thank you for working diligently and professionally to facilitate the smooth conduct of the business of the House. Speaker, finally, I would like to thank the Parliamentary Press Corps for working tirelessly to ensure that the business transacted by the House got transmitted to the citizenry. There were a few occasions that as individual members of Parliament or as caucuses, we had cause to complain. Generally, however, one cannot but acknowledge that the media passed the test and indeed did exceedingly very well. I must also commend the drafting department, Mr. Speaker, especially the young and enterprising Senna, who has been of tremendous benefit to the House in the passing of legislation. I cannot leave out the officers of the table office, in particular the venerable Ebenezer Getro, in whom most times I'm pleased, except on a few occasions. Mr. Speaker, the honorable ladies, the ladies who are with them, Ekua and Edith, have also been very helpful, especially when we come to the drafting of bills. Mr. Speaker, I must thank all of us for a good work done by this 7th Parliament, and I should thank all of us for your attention and tolerating me in spite of my own deficiencies as a human being. Mr. Speaker, I believe that when I'm placed on the scale, it will be said of me, it might be said by my colleagues that I may pass the test, but I leave that judgment to my colleagues. Mr. Speaker, let me thank colleagues once again for the cooperation that we have enjoyed. Long live Ghana, long live the 4th Republican Parliament, and may God be with all of us who will be continuing. To those of them who will be exiting, the circumstances of members who exit have not been very pleasing. I pray to God that God provide cover for them to be able to sustain themselves on our part and on behalf of the rest of us who will be staying. I want to assure that we'll be standing by to offer any assistance. There are some of them who will be exiting who we intend to draft into the business of this House to assist us in various ways to improve the work of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, finally, let me announce that at the instance of the clerk, that some diaries have been made available. Unfortunately, we don't have sufficient numbers. So those that are here, will be given to those members of Parliament who will be exiting today. And they are to be collected in the division room behind the chamber. You sign and take, I think they have, for the big ones, they have 2 to give to those members who will be exiting. The smaller ones will be coming later and we will relay to them accordingly. For the continuing members of Parliament, please don't be in a hurry to collect in. Subsequently, you have your own allocations. Once again, thank everybody, and God bless all of us. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Majority Leader.
Mensa Bonso, looks like the Speaker of Parliament will be speaking as well. Let's take a listen to that, and then I'll come to my colleague here in studio.
First Deputy Speaker, Honourable Joe Ose Usu. Second Deputy Speaker, Honourable Sumana Babi. Honourable Majority Leader, Honourable Minority Leader, Honourable Ministers of State, Clerk to Parliament, Senior Management and Staff of the Parliamentary Service, Members of the Parliamentary Service Corps, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. An important statutory activity preceding the dissolution of the 7th Parliament of the 4th Republic took place in the House yesterday. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, discharged the statutory function required of him by Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution to present to this Honourable House his message on the state of the nation prior to the resolution of this House. We thank the President for his commendation to this Parliament, and I quote, "This 7th Parliament has been the busiest ever and arguably the most productive in the history of our country." Honourable members, you deserve to be proud of this description. Pursuant to Article 113 of the Constitution, this House stands dissolved by midnight of Wednesday, 6th January 2021. 4 years ago, honourable members of this House reposed trust in me and elected me to the high office as Speaker of the House. With humility, I accepted the stewardship, which I deemed a homecoming after a 2-term stint as Member of Parliament and Second Deputy Speaker. I have since lived the expectation of trailing the path pursued by another Osu homeboy and legal luminary, Right Honorable Sir Charles Emmanuel Quist, of blessed memory, a trail that was followed thereafter by another compatriot, Honorable Justice Griffith Randolph. I thank the Almighty God whose favor and mercies have brought me this far. The good Lord has endowed us with the needed strength, fortitude, and guidance to serve this House to the best of our various abilities. Honorable members, my stewardship for the past years, I hope, has met the expectation of being fair and firm in the application of the rules and procedures of this Honorable House to all. I've had the privilege to superintend over a House which has generally been very supportive. Consultations and consensus have been resolved too in times of apparent tension. I've been spared the ordeal of overseeing a rancorous House, and I would like to render my sincerest appreciation to the leadership of the House and indeed the backbench for managing to build bridges in times of need. Together, we banned catcalls, placards, and allied activities which constituted an embarrassment to the House, especially during presidential addresses. This will remain a prestigious legacy in this honorable House. I can only hope this cordiality and conviviality will be maintained in advancing the course of deepening our parliamentary democracy. Honorable members, our ability to deepen the democratic practice is to forge ahead as a united people with common destiny. History teaches us that conflicts on the political turf neither inure to the benefit of the vocal complainants nor the silent onlooking segment of the population. We owe it a duty to the present generation and generations yet unborn to ensure that as a people we eschew unguarded utterances, barefaced insults, individual unguarded utterances, etc., etc. Today we seek the blessings of the Lord in the resolution of problems plaguing our country. We also need to adhere to democratic tenets, principles of good governance, including accountability and the rule of law, in spite of how difficult the choice will sometimes cost us. Since 7 January 2017, we have collectively made it our duty to see to it that Parliament effectively performs its cardinal functions of representation, oversight of the executive arm of government, and lawmaking. Honorable members, major achievements in the 7th Parliament include the following, which have been captured and I will only summarize. The standing orders completed, private members' bills work completed, and one adopted, one bill passed in actual fact. And I trust that the next Parliament will be able to build upon this and pass a number of laws which will make our people see that Parliament is working. In the process, we thank all those who helped us. Honorable Dami, Deputy Attorney General, Honorable SKB Asante, Dr. SKB Asante, former Deputy Director of the Drafting Division, Mrs. Ufori Boating, Director of the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, Professor Kwesi Prempeh. In fact, we called a number of conferences in order to sharpen our skills and get it right from the beginning. Business of the House, wonderful achievement by way of the number of bills we passed, total in 125 bills passed into law, which is totally unprecedented. Institutional reforms to Parliament. Institutional reforms included Parliamentary Reform Office, so that we shall continually be reviewing our ways of doing things. Clinical Psychology Unit, which is of great help to us as the human being is not only physical, but also psychological. Legal Services Department, we never had a legal department in this parliament, which was most unfortunate. We have now established it. Budget and Fiscal Analysis Office, medical equipment were brought, and the clinic expanded, including a number of equipment that were purchased. They have been listed here to show how far we have come. We trust that someday we shall go beyond a clinic to a parliament hospital. Gymnasium was built. A number of welfare measures were taken, including getting 50 houses through the Rehoboth housing scheme for honorable and for workers at various categories. We are looking at a scheme for members of parliament, even as they come the next time round, with the Rehoboth helping, and then the houses that you occupy in the interim, they will be offered to you to buy, so that members will have permanent homes in Accra at very little cost. End of service benefits for workers have also been implemented. Introduction of special transportation allowance given to workers. First ever institution pension scheme have been implemented, and an award scheme for journalists of the Parliamentary Service Corps also implemented. Physical infrastructure enhancement projects continue, and every member should now have an office as against the previous situation that we faced. There have been a number of publications from the Speaker's office and the research unit. The Office of the Speaker has compiled the following books as part of the efforts to make the institution of Parliament a knowledge hub. These include Rulings of the Speaker, Statements on the Floor in 4 volumes, Private Members' Bill in Ghana, a guide, Addresses by the Speaker and leaders of the House. Honorable members, these books are here. These are copies of the relevant books, hitherto not published like this before. And these volumes include all the statements that honorable members have made in this House during this period, put into various thematic categories, so that if you want to capture something on agriculture, you can have easy reference. Copies will be made available to all outgoing MPs, incoming MPs, and those who are staying on for reference and for the future. It will help us to sharpen our tools and argue more in terms of principle and issue as we develop our institution. Honorable members, in coming to an end of this speech, I would like to register my unqualified gratitude to the members of the Parliamentary Service Board, comprising Honorable Hakma Owusu Ajiman, Honorable Osei Chairman Sabosu, the indefatigable Majority Leader, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, our ever-working Minority Leader, Honorable Abena Osei Asare, Mr. Cyril Sia, and the 2 co-opted members of the board, Honorable Osei Owusu and Honorable Abambagwe, for their wise counsel and contribution to the success of the 7th Parliament of the 4th Republic of Ghana. With an increase in budgetary allocation of 56.5% to the 7th Parliament, I would like to use this opportunity to express my profound appreciation to the President for his consistent support to Parliament, especially on the issue of assisting the House to earmark the parliamentary enclave. I'm equally grateful to the entire executive, the judicial and other constitutional bodies for their support to the 7th Parliament anytime the need arose. I also thank the Clerk of Parliament, Mr. Cyril Nsia, and the deputies, senior management and staff of the Parliamentary Service Corps for their remarkable services rendered to the House. To our friends from the media and the Parliamentary Press Corps, we appreciate your hard work and professionalism. Honorable members, it is my utmost pleasure and privilege to have served you as Speaker of the 7th Parliament of the 4th Republic. God bless the Parliament of Ghana and make our nation great and strong. God bless us all. This Parliament will stand dissolved at 12 midnight. I thank you very much.
And that's the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay there, who's wrapping it all up. Earlier, you had the Minority Leader, Haruna Idrisu. You also had the Majority Leader, Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, to speak. It's all about Parliament wrapping up, you know, to work out before they reconvene later at midnight, if you like, to dissolve the Parliament. I'm here with Joseph Akable. My name is Gifty Andopia, and you are listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM, also here on the Joy News channel. We're streaming live on our social media handles. Joseph, so we had the Minority Leader and Majority Leader speak briefly, very briefly and subtly about the breaking news that we just talked about. I'm interested to find your take. I heard the Minority Leader sound like they've accepted their fate.
Yes, to an extent, except to make the point that if the rule of law is said to thrive, then there shouldn't be different decisions. It says different ruling in Techiman South and different ruling in Asin North. Which he calls legal illiteracy. Yes, that's what he, in his opinion. I mean, he's a lawyer, and I mean, the point is to be made that injunction is a discretionary remedy. So the facts can be the same or can be different. The judge ultimately decides whether or not to grant the injunction, except that the circumstances surrounding it will obviously set the court up for criticism, which can be done, except that you shouldn't attack the integrity of the court. And the criticisms, the circumstances are that we are told that a filing clerk who should be present could not be found when they wanted to file a notice of appeal, even before the ruling was rendered. And so that leaves much to be desired. Then the Majority Leader now comes in and says he's just received news that the NDC seats have dwindled by one, from 137 to 136. But all in all, you get a sense that the minority obviously took the opportunity to raise some of the issues that they've raised over the period about insecurity, the Ayawaso West Wagon Commission report that had about a little over 50% of the recommendations rejected by government in the white paper that they issued. And those were closing remarks, and it's important that they let the hands that captures what they feel it should be said, and that's why they both took on matters that are important to them. The Majority Leader and the Speaker seem to be on the same path in making a point that Parliament has done very well, and he made an interesting point about some key members who unfortunately are not returning to the House, like Yunus Afuseni and Ben Abdallah Banda, who unfortunately he lost the primary, so he's not coming back at all. He is quite the chairman of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, and worked extensively on a lot of the bills, more than 200 bills that they were able to pass.
I need to just jump in there. We need to go back to Parliament. The Majority Leader is on the floor. What is he saying? Listen.
Do this.
It moved that the resolution be amended to the some stated. Yes, Honourable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I see in the committee's report, if the Honourable Minister for Monitoring, page 10, is 38.8 million. So that should remind him when we say we need time to thoroughly peruse documents and numbers. Give us the opportunity. When you stampede S, 38 becomes 162 million. So correction can be done, but the very reason why we caution every time, give us time. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, Honourable Minority Leader, I think precisely where the mistake came from. I apologize. I was late earlier, so I didn't catch this before until I came in. When I read the resolution, if you read the resolution, it's as if somebody is going to borrow an additional 162.8 million. Mr. Speaker, it's not true. The first loan that was taken was about 175 back in 2012. An amount of 136 has been paid to the company. Those of you who have your reports, if you make a reference to what Honorable Minority Leader was saying, it's very clear.
Honorable, what figure are we resolving on?
So I want the resolution on pages 4 and 5 to be amended to reflect paragraph 5.5 as in the committee's report. So which is that
the amount
an amount of 38.8 million, which is left over, be used to complete the three
entire amount for us,
$38.8 million, United States dollars, to complete the 3 projects. It's important that you add that. To complete the 3 projects.
To complete
the 3 projects. I think it's just a second. I want to pick it up from the report. Formula.
Honorable
Kumawu,
please go on.
And Takrady, European Hospital in Secondary Takrady. Those 3.
Black.
Formula, Kumawu, and European Hospital in Secondary Takrady metro area. Those 3.
Mr. Speaker, I am not sure about what we are doing in this House after your winding up speech and pronouncement. So I actually think
that time it will be dissolved at midnight.
Yes, so Mr. Speaker, because you have made
so it doesn't stand dissolved yet.
Mr. Speaker, if you could hear me, because you have made a pronouncement that the House stands adjourned, and then the pronouncement has been made. Mr. Speaker, is that what I'm hearing, that he has not adjourned? Oh, very well. Very well. If Mr. Speaker has not said so, then I will withdraw my...
Mr. Speaker, I second the amendment. The motion amending the resolution.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. And that the resolution stand amended and adopted accordingly. All those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Honorable members, we shall rise.
Yeah, what you're seeing, if you're watching television, are live visuals from Parliament. Parliament has just risen and they will be returning much later tonight, where they will be dissolved and then usher in the next parliament. What they were just doing, Joseph, was to do some correction on some amount allocated to some 7 district hospitals. And Haruna Idrisu, uses the opportunity to talk about giving parliamentarians time to take to look at documents.
Yeah, and he was making a point that, that is why often when documents come and they are asking for time to go through, it's not that they are being too difficult. It's just because they want to do due diligence, and it's important that they had the opportunity to make that correction. Else it would have meant that the resolution would have been problematic, but they were able to make that correction. So the right figure should be $38.8 million is for some 7 district hospitals, and so the changes has been done and it's reflected accordingly.
Yeah, well, before we went to Parliament and before we go on this break, Joseph, we were talking about how the 2 sides addressed the breaking news that we put across. I felt that the minority leader, added a bit of humor to it, which is what gave me the impression that they seem to have accepted the fate that, this is it. We're going in with the minority, as the minority.
Yes, the facts of the matter is that there's not much they can do legally as it stands. The court has decided you can only comply or risk being in defiance of the court order and risk punishment for contempt possibly. And also we know that it's been transmitted electronically to Accra, so obviously the clerk will have access to it before evening time. I think it's a lot of background work and a lot of politicking all in the push to the decision that we'll be telling our viewers and our listeners on radio in the evening about when we start the 10 p.m. build-up all the way to when the vote is cast. It's all about the race for speaker, and a lot of them are paying attention to it because that will determine every other thing. Prior to this particular issue, this afternoon there was a heated debate between Mr. Afenyomarkin, who is the incoming deputy majority leader or minority leader or MPP side, depending on how you want to look at it, and the current minority leader, James Kuluchi-Aveji, about who becomes the majority or becomes the minority. At least with this out of the way now, we know that the MPP has more seats than the NDC. It's 137, 136. And so that issue, because the point was made that if there is disagreement, then the voting for the speaker would have taken place. Then afterwards, the speaker would have ruled on which side is majority and which side is minority. If they are saying that the interpretation cannot be, the parties, the independent cannot be counted as part of the MPP to form the majority.
A ruling then it would have been a different.
But now that ruling will not really be necessary. The MPs are taking photographs.
Certainly. Some of them are not coming back to Parliament. So it's a very emotional day for them, I'm sure. But, so these are live visuals coming to you from Parliament. They've just, risen. We're taking a very short break. I do have my colleagues, Daniel Dazi, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, and Kojo Yangsen in Parliament. We'll be crossing over to them. But let's take these messages just to remind you that the presidential and parliamentary swearing-in coverage is brought to you in association with Petrosol. Clean fuel in full quantity is always a delightful experience. Cowbell Coffee, taste it, love it. Mark Dance Shipping and Logistics Limited, your total logistics partner. Padeva Limited, your home of modern furniture. DBS Roofing, we truly are your roof experts. And Festiva, adding flavors to your life with 3-year lotteries. Star 787 hash, Ghana's premier and biggest jackpot lottery, HEPA Plus mixture for your general well-being. Right now, it's all about selfie taking in the chamber by the members of Parliament. Let's take a very quick break. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is your election headquarters. It is the dissolution of Parliament and our special coverage of it. I'm taking you right now to Parliament. My colleague Daniel Dazi is standing by with Mahama Ayariga. Let's go for some reactions there.
JoyNews channel, this is your election headquarters. We just saw the adjournment of the final sitting of the 7th Parliament of the 4th Republic. I'm here currently with the Honorable Mahama Ayariga, who will be in the 8th Parliament, and a number of interesting statements were made. First of all, Honorable, congratulations on your 4 years serving as a Member of Parliament. The good people of Boku Central must be happy with you. What are your views when it comes to the work that you did in the past 4 years?
Well, this Parliament has been a very eventful one in terms of the new things that we've done that ordinarily past parliaments haven't done. One, for instance, is the passage of private members' bills. If you recall, at the beginning of this parliament, I was one of the first to try to bring a private members' bill in relation to the amendment of the Procurement Act so that sole sourcing will be abolished.
That was after the Abuga Pele case.
Yes. And if you recall, I was frustrated from this parliament, I was frustrated at the Assembly Press, and ultimately my proposal for a private members' bill was not admitted by the Speaker. But later on, the Speaker engaged the leadership, and then two private members' bills were introduced, one on public health, the other on road traffic, and then they were successfully passed by this House. So that development is very, very important going forward into the next parliament, that the road has been paved for us in future to now bring a lot of private members' bills and then expand the frontiers of the use of private members' bills to institute and enact legislation in our parliament. Beyond that, I think this last year has been bedeviled by the COVID and all the restrictions that it imposed on the work of the House and the way that we conduct business and etc. Unfortunately, we did not take advantage of this development to really introduce effective e-parliamentary work. I'm a member of the ECOWAS Parliament, and since COVID started, we've not been attending fiscal sessions, but we've been holding parliamentary sessions using Zoom and other technologies. And I believe that our parliament could have also done that at a certain point, but we did not do that. Otherwise, I mean, this parliament has passed many more pieces of legislation than most previous parliaments from the statistics and all that. So I think that this has been a very eventful parliament. Myself, because of my active participation in the ECOWAS Parliament, I've missed a lot of the action back here. But all in all, I think that the 4 years have passed, and we have a new parliament coming, and we are looking forward to the new parliament.
Speaking about the new parliament, whilst you were sitting, we just got the news from Asin North, which the minority leader commented on in his closing remarks. And my memory serves me well, he said specifically that it's not courts that choose the people's representative, it's the people who select their representative. He's referring to the fact that the Honorable James Jachi Kwesin has been injuncted from holding himself as a member of parliament by a court in the central region. And so he calls it legal illiteracy when Techiman South did not see an injunction, but Asin North saw an injunction. Your views?
Well, that's quite a difficult one to deal with. One would have expected that Asin North would have done same as Techiman South, which is to allow the MP to come to Parliament, and then later on, when the court goes into the merits of the case and comes to a conclusion that indeed he enjoys dual nationality, then the court would then injunct him. But, you know, you have one court in Techiman South saying once the person has been gazetted by the Electoral Commission as having been elected, the person should be sworn in, and then if there are issues, when those issues are resolved, and if they go in favor of the person stays. If they go against the person gets withdrawn from the parliament. So the same principle most people would have expected will apply, especially given that these are two different political parties, and given that the situation is already muddied by a certain perception about the judiciary not being even-handed in the handling of matters involving the two political parties. Given that perception, when something like this happens, then it just makes it a little more difficult for one to appreciate exactly why the judge went this route in the Asin North case, and then another judge went a different route in the Techiman South.
So you're disappointed, basically?
The effect of both is to deprive the National Democratic Congress two members of parliament, and that is why, for us as members of the National Democratic Congress, we will have very serious issues with this outcome. And I can understand why my leader has described it as legal illiteracy.
Thank you so much, Mahama Yariga, for joining us. We have with us the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Honourable Cynthia Morrison. She's also a Member of Parliament for Aguna West. Congratulations on retaining your seat.
Thank you, my dear.
So tell us, what are your views on the work that has been done by the 7th Parliament so far?
So far, so good. You know, it's been very tiring. My brother has said enough. It's been very tiring. By the end of the day, like the President said yesterday, this is a Parliament that has passed most bills. It's been ups and downs. You know, we had a majority in Parliament, and so occasionally it's just like the minority wants the whole world to know that maybe we are bulldozing them. That's not the case. But on the whole, we'll say that we've come together to do a marvelous job. Coming to the House, it's not like you see out there. When it comes to consensus and we all agree, it's nation building. So we come together and make sure that bills are passed and then all other things are done well. But I must say that on the whole, it's been very tiring. But at the end of the day, we say kudos to all of us.
Now, unfortunately, we saw that today on your final day, Parliament was very empty. Why was that the case?
A lot of people are exiting. So for those exiting, obviously they are thinking, what do I have to do today? And for those who are retaining, some of us will have to be here to see the finality. Others also stayed here, and others also getting ready for this evening. And so it didn't look as empty as you give the world to, because I'm sure it will be shown on television. It wasn't very, very empty like we are trying to say. It wasn't full, but in the morning it was partially full, and the afternoon, you know, other people had businesses doing out there, so some of them exited. But I would say that generally it was cool.
Okay, so we'll be seeing you in the 8th Parliament, which will have a razor-thin majority. It will be very interesting to see how things go. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been joined by, I must confess, this is my Member of Parliament from my hometown, the MP for Ivalojua, the Honourable Catherine Afeku. Honourable Cordia.
But my nephew.
Let's not lose them.
Yeah.
Happy New Year. So the 7th Parliament has come to an end. Technically, unfortunately, some of you will not be seen next. What would you miss the most about your time in the House?
I think it's the debates, the parliamentary proceedings, because I remember this is my second term coming into Parliament. So most of the females, the friendship, but more of learning the parliamentary rules, the standing orders. But I miss most the debates, because when you exert your influence in the parliamentary rules and regulation and learn the rudiments of Parliament, that's where the excitement is. Beyond that, the committee sittings and also going out of your way to learn what Parliament is all about. I think for me, that is what I will miss most, because Parliament is an institution that needs a lot of people with institutional memory. I look at Nancy Pelosi, you look at other veterans in other jurisdictions, and they have more tenure. But in our parliamentary system, the attrition rate is a bit too high. So if you look on the female side, both houses, it's a bit difficult. You don't have a lot of women who stay longer. I recall my first entry with Haji Aboforo. She had been long serving, and on our side, you have a few members who would have stayed, like Honorable Ayokoboche. But on the whole, generally, the attrition rate is a bit high. So you need to have women with tenacity, with love for parliamentary rules and regulation, who would always want to be part of Parliament, of the parliamentary life. Right. So I'm excited that I've had the opportunity to serve my people. That is really the essence of Parliament. You come in and you are given the opportunity to serve your constituents. So it's an opportunity to serve. But I've also learned a lot of knowledge that I'll take with me.
Given your record, we won't be surprised if we see you in Parliament again. But give us just a moment before you answer that question. The Honourable Ben Podo is here. And Honourable, thanks so much for joining us. Now, you served on a committee that was looking at the emoluments and the ex gratia payments, gratuity payments that will go to the members of Parliament. What was decided eventually by the House?
In terms of our facilities and privileges, they are virtually what we have now, not any significant difference. Even the salary increase that we were asking for hasn't been granted. So we are at par with what the public service took as annual salary increases across board.
So is that the 10% or 11.4%?
11.4%, which the entire public service took all over the 4-year period that MPs did not receive any increase in their salaries.
The president's appointed committee actually wanted you to take 10%, and we understand Parliament said, we spoke to a number of members who said, if it doesn't go to 11.4, we will not approve the executive's increments as well. Is that what happened?
That's a misconception. You see, the committee recommended a 10% increase in salaries across board. Yeah. And it's not only for MPs, mind you. It covers the judiciary, SHRAJ, the presidency, whatever, all the other analogous institutions, all Article 71 office holders. So we were not fighting for an increase separately for MPs and another one for others. We only demanded that since the public service took their salaries, their increases regularly in the years that they were due, we also require that there should be an adjustment for the loss of time value of money. That's why we asked for 1 percentage point above what the public took. Because if you don't understand what I'm saying, in 2017, public servants were granted 10% salary increase. And they took their arrears in the year and received their salaries. In 2018, they were granted another percentage increase. They took the increase in that year. And 2019 and 2020, the same. But we, members of parliament, did not have a single 1% point increase
over the years. But some say that that's a sacrifice you have to make as a member of parliament to save your people.
Oh, but judges, nurses, teachers are all sacrificing. So there shouldn't be any distinction between what they serve, what they take for their service and what we take for our service.
I'll come back to you, the Honourable, but let me just quickly wrap up with the Honourable Catherine Afeku. Before we go, Honourable, let me quickly pick your mind on this key issue that I was discussing with Ben Bodo. Often the complaint is that MPs only unite when we are talking about the monies that you have to take home, and that if you look at 450,000 Ghana cedis, it's still a lot of money.
Well, I must be honest with you. We had a committee sitting, a closed sitting, and by parliamentary proceedings and rules, when Parliament has a closed sitting, whatever is discussed in the closed sitting is not in the purview of members to divulge to the public. So at the appropriate time, the parliamentary leadership will have that share with the media. So I will actually respect the rules and regulations of a closed sitting and rather talk about...
But is it not fair? I understand totally, but is it not fair to you that your constituents get an understanding of why this has gone on in the House?
The standing rules and regulations of Parliament, and as a member of Parliament, a two-termer, if I don't obey the rules, then I'm actually doing a disservice rather to my constituents. They brought me here to obey and to do the bidding of them. And if I'm here and I'm disobeying the rules and regulation, then it's actually disrespecting their views. So I would rather comply with the ethics of Parliament. Closed sitting, whatever is discussed in closed sitting, stays in the closed sitting, and at the appropriate time, leadership of Parliament, which of course works with media on our behalf, will divulge the correct information.
Okay, so my final question, yes. Will we see Catherine Afeku on the ballot again?
Early days yet. We are swearing in our president tomorrow. I'm looking forward to helping the party actually go into our second term in government, and there's so much opportunity out here for Nana Akufo-Addo's government. So
any positions to expect?
Early days yet. It will be too presumptuous on my part. Okay. But I'm happy to have served my Evaluate Ajomoro-Jura constituents, and I look forward to working with them, strengthening the party in the Nzima enclave. That's for sure.
Thank you very much, Catherine Afeku, for joining us. She's outgoing member of Parliament for Evaluate Ajomoro-Jura, as you heard us say. So we're going to quickly touch on a few of the parts of this conversation with the Honourable Ben Bodo and wrap up on that one. So now that these decisions have been made concerning the emolument and the gratuity that has to be paid, what is next? What are the real mechanics for the receipt of the monies, and by which time are you expected that this business will be done with?
All of that is administrative, and we just wait for the stakeholders within the chain to take their measures, to take the necessary actions, and it will be realized. Should
we expect that sometime in the future we stop this business where we decide on the salary increments when the term is rather coming to an end?
Yes, indeed. You don't engage people to work for you, and for 4 years you do not know their conditions of service, you do not know what salary is attached to their positions. So we think that this kind of arrangement should change, so that as early as we are sworn in, we know what MPs take as their salaries, or in general their emolument. It should be known as early as possible. It is because these things are not done quickly that the general public, the press comes around at the end of the period that, oh, we heard you are taking so much, you are taking so much as ex gratia. There isn't anything for us as ex gratia. You take salary arrears because you have been on the same figure for 4 years. So when a new one is determined, they compute your arrears. It's in normal salary management. If you are promoted, with in May with effect from 1st January, what do? You take your arrears from 1st January to May. They work back the 5 months for you as arrears. So there's nothing new, there's nothing strange about MPs taking their arrears when the new salary is determined, because since 2016 they have been on the same paycheck. Right. Thank you. That is it. Thank you so much, the Honourable Bingpodo, for joining us. He's the Member of Parliament. Now, the Honourable Ebenezana is with us, outgoing Member of Parliament for Ablekuma Central. Thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on the work that you've done in the past 4 years.
Thank you very much.
How does it feel on your final day?
Yes, to me, I think that looking at the experience that's for the past 4 years I've acquired here, looking at the people that you have been able to interact with, looking at the work that you have done, is a little bit worried that you are hesitant, but I believe that that's nature. You can't be stagnant at a place at all the time. There's a need for you to move forward in life. So for me, I think that yes, I have done my part as expected of me as a member of parliament for the good people of Ablekuma Central constituency. I have discharged my duties as a member of parliament in the constituency. I've also discharged my duties as a member of parliament on the floor of Parliament, and also as a committee. I'm a first timer, but I'm a vice chairman of the Committee of Lands and Forestry. I have worked so much. I'm a member of the Government Assurance Committee. I've had opportunity to travel to represent Parliament and my committee in so many countries. So I have acquired that experience. I believe that 4 years is just around the corner. We'll go back, look at what we are supposed to do, and see where we can continue to help and build this country of ours. So you're coming back after 4 years? It is too early for me to say that because currently the president-elect is Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, which tomorrow he will be sworn in, and after the swearing in, we still have to help Nana Addo to execute his agenda to ensure that come 2024, we'll still hand over to an NPP government. So we'll continue to serve the party, we'll continue to serve the government in any capacity that we will be called on, and we'll continue to do the good work for Mother Ghana and for the constituency as a whole.
Honourable, one key issue that came up really was what Haruna Idrisu ended with by saying that, look, it's legal illiteracy if the courts would grant an injunction restraining the MP-elect for Asin North from holding himself as a member of parliament. This, of course, brings down the NDC's number of seats in parliament this evening, if it's going to hold. What's your take on what Haruna Idrisu said?
I think that is his view, and I cannot hold his view because as a court, one thing that we need to understand, there's a procedure in court, there's a procedure in parliament. Someone feels that a candidate who have been elected have breached the constitutional rule. And in fact, when I have been a candidate before, and we all went into this election, a form is given to you. It will spell out everything on the form. Do you have a dual citizenship? Yes. No. If it is no, you go by it. If it is yes, which country? If it is, you stated that yes, this country, when do you still have, or you have denounced it? If you say that yes, you have denounced it, when you look at what I've read from the beginning, he said he has denounced it, but he did it after he has filed, meaning that you have lied, and that is a criminal offense. And you see, it is something that we have to cast our mind back when the late Ademu Sankandi was sent to court by one Fulani man in Boko Central. At the end of the day, he was sentenced to jail. So it's a criminal aspect that is being dealt with. Honestly, for him as a minority leader to say that there's a law that favors this party and a law that favors another, I don't think is a proper thing that should come from a minority leader.
Feels unfairly treated because Techiman South ruled against the NDC, Asin North ruled against the NDC, but it seems like different principles to him, principles are applied.
What's the NDC sent to Techiman North court case? The MPP, you see, I had opportunity to listen to both lawyers. I listened to lawyer Frank Davis, who's a lead counsel for the Asin North case. He went in as an election petition. The NDC case, in respect of the Techiman South, went in as S-party. These are two different things. It tells you the one who understands the law and the one who always plays with the law. It's clear, it tells you. And at the end of the day, the court says that yes, with what you are saying, it cannot hold. Right. With what you are saying here, it holds because this is a criminal aspect of it. And I don't think that is a law that, I mean, there has been cases that the MPP has sent to court that they have lost. There are cases that the NDC have sent to court that they have lost. It does not mean that, because at the moment we tag our judges as party people, honestly, it destroys our democracy. Right. And it is something that we all need to desist from it. I understand his sentiment. Looking at where we are now, tonight, or maybe this tomorrow morning, because 12 is in the morning, the independent candidate, which is my own colleague, because I was in the same committee with him, Andrew, he will determine who become the speaker. Yeah. He will determine who become the speaker. And they felt that the minority felt that we can get him on our side. The majority felt that we can get him on our side. But you should all understand, there might be people in the minority that will vote for the majority favorite. There might be people in the minority or majority who also vote for. So it is not about the numbers. It's about the person that will be presented to the good people in the chamber. Because you should understand, at the end of the day, you are going to work for the speaker for 4 good years. Okay. And we need to make sure that looking at where we are, we need to get somebody that can unite members of parliament. We have been here for 4 years. We have seen what has happened in this chamber. And I think that going forward, there's a need for us to put some of these things aside and look at what we can do to help this country of ours than to bring division in our country.
Ebenezana, thank you so much for joining us. He is a member of parliament, outgoing indeed, for Ablekuma Central. Back to us, Kojo. There were a lot of people around here, but it looks like it's just down to the two of us now. Yeah. A lot has been said in those final speeches. I looked at it in terms of, first of all, both leaders agree we should protect some institutions. We had Catherine Afeku saying, and then Haruna Idrisu made that explosive statement about legal literacy and the law favoring some parties more than the other. What do you make of what you've heard?
I've got to say, I mean, the minority leader said a bit more than that. He said that it appears that in this country, one law applies to the NDC, another to the NPP. I really didn't understand why he made that point. And we all live in this country. We've all seen court cases brought by the NPP that have not won. Not so long ago in Sene West, the NDC won, am I right? So I'm not sure what he means. And it's a pity because when you make such comments, you remove from any potential point you might have had in what you're trying to say. And he's trying to make a profound point that leaders are chosen by people, you know, and is raising questions about the propriety of institutions overturning the choice of the people as a part of a legal procedure. Because this is not a judgment by the court, it's a ruling. So this is part of their legal procedure, but as part of that procedure, they are setting aside an individual who, for all intents and purposes, according to the Electoral Commission, was chosen by the people. You see, so that was the profound point he was trying to make, a point which perhaps we can analyze in every case that is in court, not just that one. But he then dilutes it by making that comment about one law for the NPP, one law for the NDC.
I think it was actually an attempt to apply that principle to other cases like Techiman South, where he says that in Techiman South, this seemed to be the case, that the choice of the people was supreme, but in Asin North, the choice of people was not.
But it's not like they took the two cases to the same court or the same judge. And that is the reason why we don't have one judge in all courts.
But all the same, Kojo, you know,
it's supposed to be based on a case-by-case basis that judges make rulings. Depending on the situation, the circumstances, a judge makes a ruling. So what I'm saying is this. There was a profound point in there which we could have explored and applied to all different cases, particularly the two, Techiman South and Asin North, where it does appear that an injunction has been ruled on, an application for an injunction has been ruled on in two different circumstances and come up with two different outcomes. We can analyze that without making it about NDC and MPP.
Okay. Kojo, what is the effect of what has happened though in Asin North? Tonight, it makes tonight even more worth watching, doesn't it?
It really does. Now, a lot of what is to unfold is hard to determine. We have this situation where the decision about what to do about this court ruling will be made or will be implemented by the clerk of Parliament. This is unique. It's not going to be the Speaker, it's going to be the clerk in that short window of authority that he'll be wielding. Whether he will permit the MP-elect, whose position is now actually being set aside by the court, whether he will permit him to vote for Speaker. It will make all the difference. So anybody who ever thought one man can't make a difference, this election and all the subsequent events from it has proved that indeed sometimes it's all about one man.
It's all about one man, Kojo. And there are three men who would agree with you that it's all about one man. One will be Andrew Amwa-Kwesiama, one will be James Kwachi-Kwesin, Jachi-Kwesin I mean, and one will be the Clerk of Parliament. So this is where we wrap up our coverage of the final day of the 7th Parliament. Remember, it's only adjourned. They'll be back in the evening to finish off business before the new Parliament is sworn in. My name is Daniel Dazi. I'm coming to you from the Chamber of Parliament with my brother Kojo Yankson. We'll take you back to the studio.
All right, Daniel, and I'll take it away from here. Daniel Dazi, Kojo Yankson. We also have Kwesi Parker Wilson there. We have Joseph Opoku Gakpo earlier. We had Emefa Apau there. And later on tonight, we'll have my colleagues Evans Mensah, Winston Namwa, and the others also ushering you into all that there is to know about the Parliament.